I would recommend muting your, yeah, you already have
Yeah,
muted. All right.
just leaving the audio. There we go. All right, we're good now.
So you can share your screen and your files?
Now we can,
All right,
yes.
terrific. It's 5:34 on November 19th. We are opening up the meeting for this town meeting study committee. And votes may be taken. We do have an agenda. Let me just review what the agenda is. We're going to review the initial draft report. We are preparing a report for the select board for the spring to provide data, information, and possible recommendations on how to modify our town meeting. The second item is discuss options for when and how to close the townwide survey. I know that there's a survey out there, and that, I think it's still going on. We need to talk about when and how we're gonna close that. And then discuss, I think the most important thing is the third item on the agenda. That's discuss our experiences, of individual members of this committee, of this study group, in terms of, your feelings about the survey, the process, the respective points of inquiry, meaning that we've all assigned to each other, or, who's gonna do what. And I'd like to report on my piece, and maybe Amelia can report on his, and Alyssa can report on hers, and so forth. And then, again, votes may be taken. So let's open up the meeting.
I'll make a motion to open the
Open up the
meeting
meeting, thank you.
at 5:35 PM.
Second?
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right. All right, terrific. So, let me just open up by saying that instead of any one of us, drafting a 3,000-word report, I think what we can do is take our homework assignments, who's doing a survey, who's working on the legal stuff, who's doing the technology stuff, write a chapter, send it over to me, and then I'll summarize it and put it together in a report, deliverable by, I'd say, no later than, I'd like to go with either May or June of next year. In that, we will take votes, or we should take votes in terms of what we may recommend or not recommend. Because for the general public to know, if this is the first time they're checking in on what we're doing here, we're examining two primary things. Number one, we're looking at potentially implementing electronic voting. And I have to, after I've seen some comments on social media, I have to, again, I want to remind people what that is. What is very attractive is a concept called remote voting, meaning that you can stay home, not come to the town meeting, in your pajamas and vote. State law does not exist to allow that yet. There is legislation in process right now that's being reviewed. Eventually, it may be voted on. I have sat in on sessions with folks in the state who are promoting that concept. I will tell you that the technology is complex, and I think that if that ever becomes part of our future, we're a few years away from that. We're just not ready to do that. However, before that, there is something else called electronic voting, and that is when you have a little clicker, a little bit smaller than your cell phone, and you either say yay or no, or abstain from a vote. The votes are electronically tabulated very, very quickly. They're projected on a screen. There are several vendors that provide this technology. None of it is defect-free. All of them are prone to some type of issues, so it's a little bit of a learning curve, but that is what we're talking about. We are examining as to whether or not we want to consider implementing electronic voting, not to be confused with remote voting, which means remote voting is you can participate in the town meeting without physically attending it. State law does not allow that. Electronic voting, that is allowable. The second thing that we're looking at, besides electronic voting, is whether or not we should be considering moving the town meeting to a Saturday. There is precedent for that in the state of Massachusetts. Several towns have done that successfully. A few have done that and then have gone back. It's a discussion item for us. It is an item that we've surveyed on. We've surveyed people for two things: electronic voting, not remote voting, and Saturday. And now we have some results, and we'll talk about that. So the first agenda is pretty much that. We're all going to write chapters in this report for May or June, but let's go to the next item, and that's discuss options for when and how we should close the townwide survey. Now, Alyssa has spearheaded a survey with the Council of Aging population. That's closed, correct? Okay, still open. So tell us a little bit what's going on there.
So again, the Council on Aging survey is different than the town meeting survey. It's just that we were already planning to do a survey and wanted to take advantage of that data collection and go ahead.
You're red. There you go.
Oh, there we go. And go ahead and include
So
the town meeting.
the Council on Aging survey is still open,
Yep.
and you may want to repeat what you
Yep,
said.
so again, the
Result.
Council on Aging is doing a community-wide survey for those residents 60 and plus, and it, has, it's a pretty hefty survey, takes about 10 to 20 minutes to complete. However, knowing that we were really pushing that out, we included the town meeting survey questions at the very end of it. So at the end of our survey, we asked, did you already submit this? They answered yes or no. If it was no, electronically, then they would get to the questions exactly as presented electronically for the town meeting survey website. So I looked at the data a little bit, but again, this is a segmented population of the data as a whole that I know Amelia will talk about to some extent. We had about 109, close to 200 participants said that they had not submitted their town meeting survey, so they did it through the COA. Not all the questions are required, for yours nor mine. I don't know, curious what Amelia thinks, but I feel like overall is sort of indifferent.
Overall what?
Indifferent to everything. That was really my takeaway. Is that there weren't any strong feelings one way or
Question
another.
on the COA survey, does it have an end date, or is it sort of like ours where it doesn't really?
It doesn't have an end date because, my internal goal is to get 800 people, and so I don't have an urgent
Right.
deadline that I'm trying to meet so then I can move forward with anything. What's most important for the COA survey is that we get the widest, broadest sector of voices heard. And
Critical
so
mass.
I can wait on mine. I can take these questions off anytime.
Oh, okay.
So, you can just let me know when that is.
We can basically take ours, like, determine an end date for this, and then that would be an action from that. Interesting, okay.
What's your sense? What's your intuition saying? We need a lot more people responding?
Well, I don't know how many people responded as a
We
whole.
have, at this point, 2/3 of the respondents are the COA respondents. So I would
Great.
say right now we have about 300 respondents, but 2/3 of it being COA versus the rest of the town. I would imagine we have a lot more of the rest of the town that could participate. So maybe there's some way we can, talk about getting this out there more. I don't know what avenues we have or what have you, but how was the COA survey so successful?
Well, we are still very much working on it.
Alyssa's
But I think we have a lot of people pushing it out, We were able to do a postcard. We were able to do something online. We did a lot of Facebook posts on it. And then, now we're having volunteers make phone calls for people. So, yeah.
So you're promoting it, you're marketing it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wow, okay.
So we had this at Groveland Day. on their own. Not a lot of people took it from the table to do, but John from the planning department went around and asked people to complete it.
Nice.
So that's where the bulk of these did come from,
Lovely.
with another, you know, a handful or so coming from people coming in. We've had them out in the lobby here, in my office as well.
Bless you.
And the electronic version went out several times on Facebook, onto
Right.
the town crier, and onto the town's Facebook page, asking people to weigh in.
I do think, you know, we found a high amount of success when we would just be like, here's the paper version. You know, as much as we don't want
Yep.
to do the paper, but especially the town survey, there's like, you know, a small,
Yeah.
small amount of questions. You could
Right.
literally do it in 2 minutes,
Did
you
you
know?
find the mailer or, because you did postcards to
Yep,
everybody?
yep.
Did the mailer yield good results? Like, did you see a spike after you did the mailer?
Oh, yeah, huge spike.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's another, I'm not sure how we do that, or if it's possible for our
Right.
committee to do that, but,
Well, it would
'cause that would
cost
require
money.
budget.
That
It
would,
would cost money, but I do think through separate conversations, town might be doing a postcard for something else. We might be able to
sneak it on.
tag on that.
True.
Yeah.
So my opinion on this is that I think the sense of this committee is that, you know, we want to continue to promote, market the survey, COA and townwide survey, to get more participants. But the implication is that by doing that, the results we currently have will be different.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And that's just an unknown. I think it's worth the effort because we might get different results, but we can wake up in the middle of March and say, wow, we got 1,500 people that have responded, and the results are pretty much the same as when we had 300.
But I think our why, and I know we all hear it being on committees, is, you know, the why from the individual living in town. Why didn't you listen to me? Why didn't you wait? That would sit really well with me as both a town employee and a town resident, to be like, we did, and we got X number of people, as opposed to a grain of people.
Right.
I don't
Because
know.
the total population is what, 6,000?
Yeah, somewhere around
And
there.
so it's a very small percentage right now.
Almost 7, and I think 5,500 are registered voters.
Right, so we've got a very small percentage now. I mean, we could discuss what is a percentage that we want to get to for it to be valid per se. I mean, I don't know what critical mass would look like. I can share what we preliminarily
Right.
have. I will say both were in cahoots, the ones from the town-wide and then the town-wide from the COA were very similar. I can definitely share those if
I mean, that sounds like that would be the most helpful thing, because it's some data that could give us some guidance as to what to do next. I mean,
Good point.
okay. If you-
Finalizing right now with our first agenda item, you know, drafting the report, Alyssa is still writing her chapter, basically.
Can we clarify what I'm writing?
Yeah, basically just provide the survey and say, okay, and then, you know, it started on this date, ended on that date, here are the results. That's all.
Okay.
You don't have to
Sounds good.
write anything, you just have to say, okay, my chapter is the COA survey, and when you say, this is it, I'm done, send it to me, I'll put a few words in there and say, that's chapter number 2.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Simple. Chapter number 3, Emilio,
what we have to date?
yeah,
All right, let's.
which is an
let's,
extension, and then we're gonna go back to Jen to see what's going on with the townwide survey. But I think you might,
Well, yeah, this.
you're gonna
That is
report on
the
that.
So it's
Yeah.
all,
right,
I
this is,
I took
this is everything we got.
everything in one.
You got, okay, you got it all in one, that's
Minus
fine.
these.
So Jen's gonna
So
take.
minus,
the day off.
yeah, minus the paper surveys, which hopefully we'll see are in line with everything else. We'll find out shortly. There we go, entire screen, share. Okay, can you see my screen? Maybe. One day. There we go, okay. So again, this is all of the data that we have minus the paper data as of right now, from Groveland Day. And effectively, again, if you look here, I did take out the comment sections and I put those actually over here because we'll just compile all the comments together.
Okay.
So that it's all in one place. And we have generally, these are the comments for general and the one for if you selected no, because it doesn't matter necessarily which one they were tied to.
Right.
I went through and added 2 additional columns in here for the purpose of inferring a grouping based off the data that we have. And what I mean by that is I inferred based on whether they have previously attended town meeting, along with whether they would be more or less or not affected by the decision criteria of it being on a Saturday, or the other then decision criteria being if it were to have electronic voting, right? To understand, number one, how will it affect the attendance? And then number 2, what the preference is from there. So with that said, I think we had the original, I need to do some regular graphs on here. What I started with was pivot tables to show for, again, that particular situation of if we were to move to a Saturday, using those groups that I created. So the groups were continued absence, so those who are not going today and will continue to not go. Those that are continued attendance, so those who are going today and would continue to go. The possible gain, those who are not going today, but this would raise the likelihood of them coming. The possible loss, which is not the good one, where, if it's someone who is going today or has in the past 3 years, but this would make them less likely to go. And then the unsures, where we don't really know one way or another how it will affect them. And we can see the unsures did make up a good, decent bit here in percentage of the total population. But of note.
Is there any way you can zoom in a little bit so we can see a little better? Any
Yes,
chance?
Absolutely. I hope so. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so we'll find out. Let me
Sorry.
close this down over here. Oh, that did not work. Okay, hold on. That doesn't work either.
I mean, I can kind of see, but
I think maybe we're that 100%
Where do you see the 100%?
on the menu bar of the Google Sheet.
oh yeah,
Up in the middle. Yeah.
left, more left.
I'm missing, oh, there it is. Okay, zoom.
Your other left.
There we go. This is
Oh, better.
getting a lot better. We can make it even bigger.
Oh, that's
Oh, delightful.
Okay, this is so much better. And this is a somewhat smaller screen too, so I can understand that. Looks great on my screen though. So again, we went through the different groups. This is consistent for, the group names and the types are consistent based on the criteria of, again, whether it's the Saturday meetings or electronic voting. So those are 2 different pivot tables. We'll go through Saturday first, then electronic voting. So the important percentage here that I plucked out was the possible gain and possible loss are the 2 ones that we really want to look at. If we go to a Saturday, we could gain 17%, of folks would go. However, we could lose 13%. So the spread is the difference here. And this 4.17% of residents would be the possible net gain in attendance if Saturday was selected, right? So and the net is still a gain, and 4% is, I'd say, meaningful. I mean, it could be an extra 5 people, right? Or 4.17 people, if we go from 100. And so, that is meaningful. I think that's fair. Of that, then I look at the preference, right? So if we, again, have the total of each one of these is, we're not going to lose any more people than we would gain. So if we assume that's the case, and if we did recommend Saturday going forward, 31.4% of the residents preferred the 11 to 2 p.m. spot on Saturday. And this was, again, pretty consistent across the 100 some odd people that did the townwide survey, and then the 200 that did the COA townwide survey. And then 44% of the residents had no preference if Saturday was even selected. So, or sorry, no preference in terms of the timing if Saturday was selected. So if you were to add these two up, I don't, math, 4, 5, 6, 7, 70 something, 75% would either prefer or not care if it was 11 to 2 on a Saturday, which is pretty good. So that seems pretty compelling to me so far, that Saturday seems to be like a net positive overall, and that time frame in particular. And you could assume the inverse of this for whether people would want the, again, to keep it where it is today. But overall, this shows that the change would be a net positive. That's the point in the possible gain and loss piece here. Any questions on that data?
No, it's helpful.
No, I think it's meaningful because if we have 100 or so people that come to town meeting, we don't have a statistic, and it'll be maybe impossible to get the statistic. But my gut feeling says that the people who have responded to either surveys, probably a high percentage of them are people that do attend town meeting anyways, because they're engaged in the community.
I
Yeah.
could calculate that. That's a.
So, I
that's a
mean, we're
good-
gonna be struggling to get more numbers, but if only 100 people show up at town meeting and 100 people survey, that survey could be indicative of what could happen to town meeting if we change it with either electronic voting and/or Saturday meeting, because those are the only people gonna participate anyways.
What is the count? So 133 responses were yes. So that's actually less than half of the respondents actually have attended a town meeting.
Well, that's good. When we get to 100%, that should be the end of my opinion, should be the end, that's when we reach the end of the survey.
I don't know if we can get 6,000 people in this room, but it might be tough. But yes, message heard there.
Well, I mean, remember, if the town meeting attendance is roughly around 100 people, plus or minus.
Right.
Right? And of the people that are surveyed, like how many said, what percentage said, how many people said that they had already been within 3 years?
Less than half.
Yeah, but that's 150 people.
Yeah, 133, right.
Right. So, I mean, that's more than we get on an average town meeting.
So a caution here
Yeah.
is the possible loss. They are residents that are coming right now.
And
Right.
and might not show.
If it's on
Well, they
Saturday.
might not show, and if they have been coming here regularly, there is the risk that if they stop, what is the potential for these possible gains if they hadn't been coming previously?
To make up.
Do we know that they're actually gonna come
Right.
and make up the difference for the people that were coming?
Do in fact come, yeah.
That is a potential problem, right? And it is less likely. It's not that, hell no, I'm not coming.
Right.
It's just less likely. So that is something just to bear in mind, is getting people to do something new is sometimes more difficult than getting people to continue
And
coming.
the data doesn't reflect if somebody says, yeah, I will, but then they don't.
Right, exactly. So that comes back to, I hate to resolve it in this way, but the 4.17%, with their, again, the percentage of loss here, I mean, it could end up being somewhat of a wash. Going back to your original point, where, so at the surface, this seems really good, but I can't say for certain, right? I think that they would, I don't know how we would figure that one out, to be honest.
If we have hundreds of more people participating in the survey, and we capture the same type of data we have now, my interpretation tells me that Saturday meeting is high risk.
I don't think that it's high risk. I think what we're saying here is that there is a higher percentage of possible gain versus lower percentage of possible.
Well, possible losses,
And
yeah.
it's all possible. It's what range of possible are we talking
Well,
about?
I measure risk in the fact that if we have 99 people, we're in trouble.
Right. I'm inclined to agree with Joe in the sense that, when you upset the apple cart, you don't know what it's gonna look like. You do know that we've had this model for, several years, and it yields roughly this, and it's enough to proceed at a minimum, generally.
Almost all the time.
Has been.
Well, we had a good number this past year.
Right, this last one
this year was good.
was, we were not even close to not having quorum.
We had a good number, and we didn't have any significant controversial articles other than the,
So to me,
Water.
having had a good year this past year,
Do you want to rock the boat?
I wouldn't necessarily for a potential 4% gain, when, like you said, there are people that said on their survey, hey, if you move to Saturday, I'm not coming.
I'm not coming.
So,
And they could be
and they could be the
dedicated,
people that are coming.
hardcore,
Right.
engagement types.
To
Well,
be fair, we didn't ask, will you not come? So there was that. That may be something that we should have, we did not think of in
Sure.
advance, right? And so that is we didn't draw a hard line. It's just less likely.
No, understood.
So, but I think that's a fair point. Yeah, the rocking the boat. But this is just preliminary. I think we
Right.
could keep going.
It's great data. I mean,
And then this same thing applied to the electronic voting, right? Is a similar story, actually a lot better story, actually. The possible gain is far outweighing the possible loss here, right, in electronic voting. It is a very clear benefit to go towards electronic voting. And again, if we look at the totals down here, down bottom, we can see that just about half preferred electronic voting or had no preference. And so again, you have critical mass saying electronic voting, or I don't even care, I'll still come if it's there.
so the I don't care is kind of like support the I cares,
In a way, yeah.
in a way, okay.
Well, I mean, depends how, right, it depends how you wanna spin the information. If you wanna say, you can add them to the nose too and say roughly half said yes and roughly half said no or I don't care. And so, I mean, but I do think, this is different than the Saturday voting because it looks like there is a pretty strong
Yeah.
interest in it. At least half of the people that are submitted, and these seem to be, if we're characterizing, we think these are people that are coming to the town meetings, the people that are returning the surveys by and large. Because if we only get 120 at a town meeting and we've got 300 responses, of which you said, how many had come once in the past 3 years?
133.
Right. So I mean, this is most of the people that come to these town meetings is what it
plausible,
feels like.
Yeah.
So if most of the people that are the subset of this
Can
group,
I just add something that I saw in some of the comments? I don't know if anybody else that looked at the comments did. I do think, and it's probably a small portion, but I just want to put it out there
Sure,
that
no,
I
of
do
course.
think that some people were confused between town meeting and select board meeting. So just putting it out
Okay,
there.
no,
'Cause some
I-
people are like,
I-
"Yeah, I just went last week." And I'm
Right,
like,
right.
Did you?
I see.
So,
Right.
so
So,
yeah.
right, that's possible too, but this is much more favorable, like sort of on the grand scheme of with the data that we have. And again, perhaps we get more data over the next couple months or whatever, that falls in line with what we've got or is maybe somewhat different, but, this looks more, like it might be willing to explore. Again, there are costs involved and all that sort of thing, and I don't even know how you'd prop it to the select board, or how you would set up. Well, what are the options? I know you did some work about quotes and things, and it seemed kind of expensive, but at the same time, if it's something that we can use year in, year out, and people like it,
If we implemented electronic voting for 2026, there is money in the budget to purchase any one of those technologies that we're looking at.
By 2026, you mean this May?
Yeah.
And I can speak to the current town bylaw allows for the moderator to decide
Right.
that electronic voting is what we'll do. So it's the town
Yeah.
moderator's discretion. So if we have the technology available, then the town moderator can say we're gonna use it.
A question here, this, just because naive to this. Does that mean if you say we're using electronic voting, right, at the town meeting as the moderator, does that mean everyone has to use electronic voting, or can it be a mix
No,
Can-
vote types?
it's, at least as I read the bylaw, it says that would be the way that we would all go, not.
I would say that there's ADA protocols there. So, so that we do have to make sure that there are other means to vote.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or that the solution is ADA compliant, right? Which the tiny little.
Any little thing is
Probably
not going to
Ah,
be
I
ADA
gotcha,
compliant.
understood. That's
But
a good point.
is there an ADA compliant, I need to write that down. Yeah, that's,
I did not ask that question of any
That's a
of these
great point.
vendors,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to reach back out to some of them and
and even ask how
get some
other,
detail,
how others.
how other towns handle that.
Sure.
Yeah, even if it's not, even
that's
if
a
they're
great
not,
question.
how do they do them? Because a mixture, the reason why I asked that, because fundamentally it sounds like that would be tough. If you'd be
Yeah.
doing some electronically, some by hand, like having mixed votes, like having, you're not double counting, so on
That
and
would
so
make the
forth.
night, that would make the evening very, very long, and that would
Right.
defeat the purpose. That would really,
What do you think?
yeah, that
I
would
can
not.
reach out to the vendors and ask, and I can also reach out to some of the towns that already do use this and see if I
Oh,
can
that's a
get
good
some
point.
feedback on how they've managed.
So
that.
if we implemented electronic voting and it would be 100%, that would be the only way to vote that night. However, the town moderator can say, we're going to switch to hand vote because we're having a big tech issue and we can't resolve it, so we're going to move on with the meeting, we're going to cancel the electronic, we're going to go back to hand votes. That can be done, but you can't, I don't believe you, I would not want to be the town moderator where I'm running a hybrid meeting.
Well-
Because that night's going to go on till 3 o'clock
I
the
don't know
next
how it's
morning.
logistically possible either.
It'd be very difficult.
Yeah,
The promise of the technology is the tabulation is quick and instant and reportable on a screen.
right.
So we'd be able to spend more time talking to one another and debating things. And when it's time to vote, it's going to be like almost instant.
A more
People
efficient
click,
meeting.
boom, we see the numbers, let's move on.
I think the benefits are clear. I think that's
Yeah,
a
they are.
fair point.
But the ADA aspect sounds,
Important.
you know, that's something that needs to be vetted, certainly before we make a recommendation in the select board about what to do. That's a great point.
So if I wanted to interpret, again, going back to, if we end up with 1,500, 2,000 people that respond, and the results look the same as they do now, I concur with Patrick that the numbers are very clear, that people who do show up at meetings prefer electronic voting by a significant majority. That's people that engage, like 100, 200 people that follow town government and participate in it. They are predisposed, to most of them, or a high percentage of them will say, yeah, well, that'll be a nice,
Add.
add to something that I'm gonna participate in regardless.
And by contrast, the numbers, at least as to the Saturday voting, seem to be marginal at best as far as, as far as gains relative to, like when we compare these two issues, it seemed that there's a clear, hey, this would be great, versus I really don't care, or it might actually impact me negatively. So I know lots of people have weekend plans and things like that, and so that's true. You'd also have to change the bylaw, which, would be something that I'm sure it could be done, but, again, more effort to do. With the electronic voting, that's already provided for in the bylaw, so it is something that, is less
Disruptive.
disruptive, right, sure. But, But again, this all presupposes that any additional data we get would be roughly match kind of what we got. But that seems likely in the sense that the COA portion and the non-COA portion seem to jive.
Yeah.
Even though, like they're coming from different populations. It'll be interesting, very interesting to see what these
Maybe
documents say.
they'll far skew the numbers, who knows?
Right.
25
So-
very different folks.
Right.
So,
So I would hold until we get this data, which is also,
yeah,
helpful.
and, sorry, I did want to share one.
Sure,
one
go ahead,
last,
please. This is
um,
great stuff, by the way.
pivot table here was the mixture of the two. So the mixture of the two is looking at of those who, again, would be in those different subgroups for electronic voting against the subgroups for Saturdays. And if you combine the two, basically, would we gain anybody by doing both? And would we lose anyone definitely by doing both? And the answer is, according to the data as of right now, we would possibly gain 6% more attendees if we did both Saturdays and
And
electronic.
electronic voting, yeah.
Yep, and then we had only a possible loss of roughly 1% right now if we did both.
But most of that 6 is electronic voting.
Yeah, so that's, you're basically averaging the two together, absolutely, that's,
Yeah.
you have the 4% here versus the 11 or almost, 11.5% here, right? And so, absolutely, I think that's where a lot of that's coming, is you're averaging all that together at that point. But again, if it overall is a net positive, then there's that. Again, different ways to think about it.
Sure.
When we vote and discuss and make recommendations to the select board, we have to use the R word, risk. As I see it now, my interpretation, and this is me, we're not voting on it, and I welcome everybody's opinion here. As I said in my email when I set this agenda, I value everyone's opinion here, so this is just my editorial. My opinion says that Saturday meeting, the way the numbers are being presented to us, should they not change, even if we get hundreds of more people responding, says that Saturday is high risk because the net gains might not overcome the net losses, and if we hit 99 people or less, we don't have a meeting, we have a crisis. The risk that I see with electronic voting on a normal night, without going with Saturday, is technological failure. And if we implement this, I am not a tech guy, and I don't want to speak for anyone, but I can go back to the last 2 people that have had this position. It's an important position. I don't think any of us would be comfortable or would have the skill set to be able to troubleshoot live at a meeting tech issues with the technology if it fails or is disruptive or not working properly. So if we were to make a recommendation or had a vote on implementing electronic voting, I would say no unless I know I have a tech person there, whether it's someone from the town or someone from the vendor that will be there for the first 2 or 3 years to make sure that this stuff works.
Well, there's already kind of a solution baked in for the technological issue thing that you raise, and I think it's a perfectly good, point to raise. And it's, you could, the day happens, you get into this, it's a mess. You say, I'm the town moderator, I decide that we're gonna do voice vote because this isn't working. And I think you'd be well within your right to do it, you have the discretion to do it.
Right.
But it's not a good solution if we spent $9,000.
Well, I mean, it's.
Then the risk is
if
dollars.
If we, right, if we spent it and we only rented it and it was for that one session, say. But if it was for the equipment that we could use for years and years and years, then it might be okay, it still could be justifiable. But that is the different technological solutions, that's what Jen has been on. and, figuring out what might be the best way to proceed if we buy or rent or do whatever, whatever setup it is, that should take into account the fact that, if on, meeting one, this stuff, doesn't work, are we out? Is the town out thousands and thousands of dollars that can't be recovered? Or is it just, sunk cost into something that's gonna be, something we can use year to year?
So to mitigate that risk a little bit, because I'm thinking of
Well,
this,
you're gonna mitigate the risk, because you're a tech guy.
yeah, me and Steve Baker's a tech guy too.
And
so-
Steve too.
Yep,
True.
so-
I'm not, I'm proud to
So-
say
No,
that.
that's okay.
We've got at least a few of us. So, in order to mitigate the risk and not mitigate it real time, but maybe proactively, a few things to think of here. Number one is obviously having someone on site would be good from the vendors, but number two, proactively, I would expect the vendors have some sort of way we can test these things
Right.
in advance and have some sort of implementation practice where we do stress test it and we or whoever would be in charge of it, right? Stress test before the meeting and does dry runs.
Sure.
At least a few times so that we're all comfortable with it and know here's how it works. Another thought here too is maybe we could ask the vendors, or maybe we did, I'm not sure if we did, if they do like trials, and again, whether it be a rental or just a straight up trial for the first time, we select what seems like the best option of the spread. And the first time is we'll go through it with you,
Right.
trial kind of thing.
I know that some of the different vendors do offer that, on-site support for your first meeting. I also was thinking, in most all cases with the vendors, sort of their next step is, can we schedule a meeting so we can talk to you more about this product? And that would be a great time if we can have a virtual call with them, at our next meeting, maybe do a couple meetings with them, and all of these questions can sort of be put to them. And then that may give us all a better sense of what we would expect from them in terms of support and how much of it would fall back onto us and, or is there additional cost? This gets you the equipment, but you need to spend this much more for, additional support. We could ask those questions in a meeting with them.
Right, that's fair.
And get a-
maybe have a list prepared that's
Sure.
standard for each one of them in
Yeah.
advance, which you already had a good amount for the initial research.
Yeah, I had the initial stuff,
Maybe we
yeah.
just- pieces.
But I know, in all cases, they were like, so when do you want to schedule the
Of
meeting?
course.
And they emailed me, let's schedule the meeting. I'm like, whoa, we're
They'd
not
love to
meeting
take the
until
town
November.
Yeah.
Back off. So that's an option too, to sort of allay any concerns.
We'll buy it tomorrow if it's free.
Would you be able to put the camera back on?
Yes, I can certainly do that. All right, there we are.
So, very good. Good information from all of you. I'm excited that we're beginning to get a vision as to what the possibilities are for changing. I don't know if you're all in agreement with me, but I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it more comfortable, more appealing, more exciting, and possibly even build numbers so that we have a better representation at town meeting. 100 people with 5,500 registered voters is a problem, and this is not a problem that is vested just in Groveland. This is a national problem. The ultimate solution for some towns, and there are some towns in this area, I believe Salem, New Hampshire now, they're going to representative government because town meeting is just not working anymore. Or is it Andover, I think, so. So I think we're all passionate about town meeting and we want to preserve it, but we need to make it more appealing, more comfortable, more exciting, and hopefully, get more people involved. And I think that's ultimately the goal, so,
Can I add a discussion topic to
yes.
to what we're
Sure.
kind of talking about? And we broached it the last time we met, and I think it's something that we should be considering as well. And it was the possibility of having a childcare option to encourage attendance. And I looked at the bylaw about it, and what it said was, what I had thought it would, the rule was, is you couldn't have on-site childcare, because the criteria for admission was no person would be admitted to the hall who wasn't, a registered voter, and that would be all the kids. And so, but there looks like there might be some wiggle room there. And what I think is, for example, if it says that no person not listed on the checklist of registered voters shall be admitted to the hall wherein the town meeting is being held, except as approved by the meeting, and the moderator shall determine the bounds of the hall. So I thought to myself, would it be, dirty pool for the moderator to say, the Bagnall lunchroom is the hall, and that is it. And nobody, the entrance to the hall is controlled by the people, and you're only allowed in if you're a registered voter or otherwise allowed to be there. And the gymnasium is not part of the hall. And so if, the town were to set something up so that childcare could happen there, then it wouldn't be the inconvenience of having to go off-site. It wouldn't have to be those things. And I would be interested to see, and I would be happy to follow up with, Rebecca, and, get some,
We did this a couple of years ago.
was it at the gymnasium?
Yeah. Adults, registered voters went on that side, and kids went, I think around the other side.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I do think the bylaw provides for, so if it happened, that helps, but I mean, I think it's also possibly fair game to do that, and that would not be, I don't think it would be a super hard thing to do, and I do think it would encourage attendance. Now, it's not part of our survey, and I'm not suggesting
no,
we
but it was.
free.
That's what I'm
was part of
showing
the
now.
survey.
So
No, it is
a-
part of our survey.
A couple
Yeah.
pieces
Oh,
to this.
okay.
Number one, I think that's fair, right? Because the hall represents the place that the voting is happening, not the building, right?
Right.
And a hall is part of a building, but not the entire, it doesn't have to be the entire building, so that.
Well, and this says the moderator determines what the hall is, so.
With
What
great
I-
power
what I-
comes great responsibility.
What I would recommend is if we work with the bylaw, that could be something that the town moderator can implement for just 1 year at a time.
Well,
Because-
it says that, I would
Does it
agree
do
that it's, well, it doesn't explicitly say that, but yes,
And,
it
and here's the reason.
says that you're the one that determines, the moderator determines the bounds of the hall, and that would be from year to year.
Here's the reason why. Let's say we don't implement Saturdays next year, we don't implement electronic voting, but we implement childcare. Certainly carving out the space that the official legal meeting room is going to be the cafeteria, and then we have the gymnasium for childcare. That's not a problem. With the number of people that we're attracting, 100, maybe 120, maybe 150,
Yeah.
maybe we get it up to 200, be no problem. The problem is, we have to look at it every year, because if on the agenda we have a topic such as a school override, that would be the reason why we would have hundreds of people come to the meeting, and a good number of them would be people with children, and there could be an issue, there likely will be an issue where an overflow of voters would have to go to the gymnasium, and therefore our plan would not work. We would have to say, in that year, we are gonna have childcare services, but somewhere else in Bagnall. It couldn't be the,
Yeah, I sort of feel like this might be a little bit of a moot point. Again, compliance, clearly an issue, but it's done. That the very last time that we had the override was when we had those hundreds of people.
we had
and
overflow.
we had overflow and we had childcare.
Where was the childcare in the building? I don't remember.
I don't remember the exact
Okay, but it was
location, but it
possible.
was in Bagnell.
Okay,
We were all
good.
there
I
together.
feel better then.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
done
I'm
it
okay with
before, is
that.
what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah,
now-
and there's nothing nothing's setting aside that it has to be this way every year forever and ever. It's, it's something that we could talk about from year to year, or
I think consistency is key to building trust, though, and
No, I don't disagree.
also
Do
to.
you remember who provided the childcare? Was it volunteers? Was it students from the high
I
school?
feel like it was students that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I just remember my son was there watching kids. I don't remember how it happened.
So there is, in the data, it does show that I need to figure out the percentage. But there are a total of, what is that, 11 respondents that had not been coming that would be more likely to attend.
They had child-
As, if we had childcare. And then there's another, what is that? Probably 7 or 8, 9? There we go. Yeah, there's, 8 that would be more likely to attend and have attended previously as well. So no one is, all of the other respondents were either, it would not affect, it's not applicable, or not sure. So nothing negative.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite comment is that if you have a bouncy house outside, I'll show up at the meeting.
Well, that's what makes it fun.
We should have the bouncy house inside.
We just note that I think there is a finance committee meeting at
Yeah, we do need
6:30.
to wrap up by 6:30.
Sounds good.
All right.
So may I make a recommendation that we meet again in January of 21st, which is a Wednesday? And the purpose of January 21st is we will basically have almost the same agenda. We'll examine, have we decided to close the survey? I think keeping it open and continuing to market it is a great idea,
I can't make the 21st. I'm actually going to be out of the country.
okay? The following week, how's that look for everybody?
That would be perfect for me.
Do we want to decide on an end date in advance as opposed to keeping it going in perpetuity? Or is it sort of like with the COA where we want to see it get to a critical mass?
I mean,
I
don't think-
personally
Whatever-
like.
I don't think it hurts us to get more data.
Yeah, whatever the consent is, we don't have to vote on it. I'm okay whatever we feel the consent of this committee is.
Okay.
Want to keep it open, you think?
Yeah.
I'm fine with keeping it open. What I was thinking, though, is, certainly we can have some out here in the town hall area on
Yeah.
tables, but maybe all of us could sort of take a handful as well as we're out in the community.
That's a good idea.
And,
Yep.
I can
sort
definitely
of-
get some to folks. Thank you for that.
or even direct people right to the website. Have you had a chance to, complete our survey yet? I'm on this committee, would love your input, your neighbors' input, everybody.
That's a great idea. Do you have copies, or can you send me just a blank PDF? I'll print it myself.
We can print them here. Yeah, I've got some, sure.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because I know personally, I could probably distribute 50 of them directly with my volunteer work and between my wife and I. It's a great idea.
Feel free to do the COA survey for older adults.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
All right, so if
So-
not the 21st.
January 28th?
28th.
It would be great for me.
Okay. All right, January 28th, we'll set the same time, 5:30. I'll send you, basically copy the agenda. We really,
Agenda.
yeah, just use, it's the same
You
thing.
just need to book that space with Annie.
Yeah.
I can
I'll
do
check
it. It's fine.
What's that?
I can put it in. Can I just put it in?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I can reserve the room.
Okay, go ahead,
unless
let's
you
book
need
the
to go
room.
through
Let's
official
use the
channels.
same agenda. If anybody thinks of something else on the agenda, could you send it to me, say, I think we should add something? Well, we'll add it, we've got some time.
Okay.
But then, if you don't hear from me within a couple of weeks, just copy the agenda as is. Amelia, great work.
And fast
Listen.
work. We only gave them the data a few hours
I
ago.
told you that I love crunching data.
Great work. Well, here's some more.
I do need, I didn't say inputting data, I said crunching.
You know,
Although paper can be crunchy.
I haven't paid attention to bylaws since I was on the select board, so thank you, Patrick, for
No,
what
of
you're
course.
doing. It's like, I didn't even know there was a bylaw about childcare. That's like really cool. Wow.
Yeah,
Good.
never would have thought. That's so interesting.
to adjourn.
I think we should
Yeah.
make a note. Would
Yes.
anybody like to?
I'll move to adjourn the meeting at
All right.
6:28.
I'll second.
Okay, and we all vote
favor?
affirmatively. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very
Aye.
good. Well done, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.